This day I have brought this nation into a whole brand new place in the kingdom. Do you understand that you have come through August, September, and October, and now I am going to take you into 4 years of harvest that this nation has never seen or experienced?
Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are back here with Bo Polny, and we're doing another broadcast because things are just heating up like crazy right now. So, Bo, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Noah. Yes, very important podcast for people to listen to. We got a lot to cover today. We're going to keep it really tight in what we want to talk about, but there's a lot that we need to be discussed, and specifically how important we are in terms of November into December here.
Yeah, well, I always like to say when we're recording this, so this is November 6th, and a couple quick notes. I think it's fun when we look back on these to kind of see what the markets are at. Bitcoin is at 35,000 right now. My XRP is soaring. We're at 71 cents, so I know I'll get some comments on that in the positive and negative, but I love some XRP. And let's see, what else? Ethereum right at 1,900. So always fun to look back at those. But when we had Bo on a couple weeks ago, we said this is an emergency broadcast, and it was. So much has happened since then. We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about the Black Monday that Bo is looking for, and he's got a lot of thoughts on that. We'll cover that here in just a little bit, and we're going to cover some big things coming up. Some big booms, some big explosions to the upside, some crashes. And it's really important, which markets get the booms and which ones get the crashes, because that's going to affect a lot of things for you. So, well, Bo, let me put your slides on the screen and I'll let you take it away, because you have a lot of very timely things going on here. And I think, as you say in your slides here, let's go right there. These events are not political. We are in biblical times.
Exactly, Noah. So everything going on in the world, as horrific or scary as it might be, it's going to get scarier. Why? Because there is that Clement Prophecy. They will bring this nation to its knees. And we haven't seen that yet. So I do expect things to get worse. We're coming into a date this month, which we're going to talk about. Actually, a couple dates this month are really, really important. And so one of these dates, we could actually see something scary happen here, in the United States. But again, this is the point about the Bible, right? Fear not. Right? God always says, fear not. For God, Jesus Christ comes to bring us life more abundantly. Any and all fear that we have is because the devil is creating it. So again, there's nothing to fear. God's got this. But again, we just want to, kind of pay attention to what is going on, and we want to be wise, because we are at some critical time points here. It's precisely, I think, even as we head into this weekend, and you'll see why in the presentation.
Yeah, well, biblical times were not always peaceful or slow going. I mean, you got plagues and you've got people being drowned in a Red Sea and all sorts of other stuff. So definitely
think of how, I'm sorry to interrupt, but think of how many wars there were, right? You read the Bible and there's many, many wars that occur throughout the Bible as well too. So you have to understand, people in biblical times, people die. It's how it is, unfortunately. But again, when you know Christ, this is the great part. When you, at some point, we all die, right? And if you know Christ, but then again, Kim Clement said, we're the generation that shall defy death. So we wait and see. But the point is, death is nothing but a transition. When you discover how incredible the universe is, and specifically heaven, you never want to leave. There's that movie in the theater right now called Afterlife. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. But if those that haven't seen it should go see it. The essence of heaven is the one word that God is. He's love. And apparently, from what they are saying, is the love is so intense. It's like an ocean of love. You never want to leave. So again, horrific as things are in the world, we are here on this earth ultimately to do one thing: choose wisely.
Yeah. Well, so we're gonna get into some key dates here that Bo has, and he said he's got a couple he's circled on his calendar. Before we do that, right on the screen here, we've got Bo's QR code. That'll give you these slides. They're always so beautiful and well done. If you want to grab these, I know a lot of people, I get emails every time we do this, people saying they have a folder where they save these and they look back on them. So if you want to grab these, you can point your camera at the QR code and download it for free, or right below this video, we'll put the link to download those. Those are totally free. Bo's time here with us is always very gracious and free. So we appreciate that, Bo, and always appreciate all the info you give us. When we did this 2 weeks ago, we said emergency broadcast, and it feels like nothing has changed. If anything, it's just heightened. And Boy, we are in for you kind of gave me a sneak peek before we went live. We are in for a wild finish of the year, and there's only about a month and a half left. So go ahead, take us away and tell us what we're in for.
Sure. So again, from a biblical perspective, we started the year 2020, the first seal of Revelation manifest, and now we are not in end times, we are in the beginning of end times. Scripturally, that's the time of sorrows. So we've got 2 seals of Revelation already opened, and we are at a critical time point because we are waiting for the 3rd seal to manifest. The 3rd seal is economic collapse. I'm going to repeat that. The 3rd seal is economic collapse. I know many people are out there, who are, talking about precious metals, and I talk about it as well too. And they talk about cryptocurrencies. That we're going to chat about this. And it's important to understand. See, when cryptocurrencies, when gold and silver move aggressively vertical to the upside, everyone's going to be celebrating because, my goodness, we're seeing explosions in prices. How awesome is that? But understand that when this happens is because the world reserve currency and the US dollar is crashing. The financial system is crashing. So everything we grew up with is crashing while precious metals are exploding with cryptocurrencies. You see, so that is what is literally itemized and specifically stated in the 3rd seal of Revelation. So the 3rd seal is, again, it's a flipping of the scales, financial scales. And ultimately, it's marked. The marker is an economic collapse. We're heading into that time point. The 3rd horseman is the economic collapse. And when all 4 of these horses are riding, then you basically, these are the Islam states, then, you're going to start to understand that the 4 horses are riding, and then, it sets the stage for Antichrist to come on scene. So those that think the Antichrist is on scene and what they're doing with Corona, please understand, you're not understanding the times and the seasons that we're living in right now. We are seeing biblical things manifesting in front of us, but the 4 horses are not riding yet. We don't have a 3rd temple yet. So this is not the time, so do not be deceived. Do not be alarmed that we're heading into, nuclear conflicts here in World War III. It's not the time. The things that need to happen for that to be are not even close yet. We're still years ahead on those things.
You were telling me that the green horse. A lot of times people think of that as the pale horse, but you've got it as green, and the Greek word chloros, which kind of sounds like Clorox. I guess that maybe that's where pale comes from, but it also more like what's in the plants. Talk about that.
It's actually exactly what's in the plants. It's called chloros. When you translate it from Greek, you can go either pale or green. But bottom line is, there's a link there that people can check out, and it clearly describes it.
And then all the flags. I mean, that can't be an accident with all those same colors used in all those flags.
That's the whole point, exactly. So it kind of gives you an understanding, and so the visually you're starting to see what Revelations is all about, right? It's nation shall come against nation. You see how this is playing out. So what is the Battle of Armageddon? It's very simple. It's evil versus God. It's not even a battle, because when Christ shows up, it's over. Because ultimately, the Battle of Armageddon is another example. There's just a day and night. Coin has 2 sides. There's good and there's evil. And so being on this world, we have a choice of who we choose to follow. There's going to be less and less people ultimately sitting on the fence, to a point where there'll be no one sitting on the fence in the future, ultimately because people will either choose evil or they will choose God. When I say God, I mean God the Father, Jesus Christ, okay? And so the world we live in is a world of deception. Evil that's on the earth came in through Adam and Eve. He is, Satan. He's the great deceiver. And his number one goal is to deceive humanity, scare humanity. And Christ at some point is coming to redeem the earth.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Excellent.
So the 4 horsemen that you're seeing there, they ultimately will be riding, and then you're looking for a battle to happen in the future, but we're not there yet. So let's go to the 3rd horseman, because we're years away, I believe, from the 4th yet. But the 3rd horseman, I believe, is right in front of us, right here, right now. What did I say? The 3rd horseman is economic collapse. You'll notice there's 2 things about that horse. Number 1, he's black. And number 2 is the rider has scales in his hands. So again, we've talked about the scales in the prior interviews, but the scales represent what happened with Jesus walked into the temple and he flipped the scales on the money changers. It's also representative of what happened with Belshazzar and the writing on the wall. And if you know that, it was mene tekel sharsim. The translation was, you've been weighed in the balances and found wanting. And this is critical. Your kingdom has come to an end. So there is your economic collapse.
Yep.
The economic collapse leads to a great wealth transfer. Get it? But so the point of this is God's going to flip the scales, the financial scales on the world, and it's going to be horrific and historically awesome, right? It's a double-edged sword. You get both. And so this is what's coming on the world. Is it's going to be two events are happening at the same exact time, if that makes sense. Because some will be celebrating, and other ones will be throwing up like they've never. Like they just can't even imagine what literally is going on in the world right in their lives right now. It's horrific. And the other part of what's coming out is not only financial collapse, is truths get revealed, right? Because the flipping of the financial scales means that precious metals are exploding in price and the U.S. dollar is crashing. You get it?
Oh, yeah.
And they use the dollar for bribes and payoffs, right? And so now if the bribes and payoffs aren't working anymore, guess what happens to the truths? They start coming out. And so you're going to see, it's called infighting. So the global elite will be infighting amongst themselves to protect their own hides, and that's that's a prophecy that's already been stated.
Yeah. Well, and also I forget who said it. Maybe a couple people said it, but I know a couple people had prophetic visions of members of Congress coming out of Congress and just puking because of what's happening to the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that leads us to the black horse is death, right? And so we've already seen the angel of death strike the senator here in California, Feinstein. But again, the prophecy is prophetic word specifically hundreds of deaths, so hundreds of empty seats in Congress, right? So we're still waiting for that. And again, we're at a moment in time where we don't know the day all this is going to go down. From the calculations we'll talk about today, again, I'm going to reiterate why this year 2023 is so critically important. And then why things are still expected to start before year end, like historic things are supposed to begin before year end. So again, black horse, death, not to, basically it's like, for what a man soweth, that shall he reap. So it's reaping season. So that means that death to the ones that have been working against God or for demonic entities, for the evil ones. Okay. So we're supposed to see, so that's where the black is supposed to represent. And again, the scales are the financial scales that are about to flip. And so all of this is, we're waiting for this to start, and we're getting it to a very critical time point, because in January you had 12 months, and then you get to 11 months, and you get 10 months, and 9, 8, 7. So we're literally at a point where today being the 6th, where there's up until the summer solstice is probably 6, maybe 7 weeks max. Right. And so what did I say? From the summer solstice to the winter solstice, we're supposed to see by the winter solstice a complete and utter flip, meaning a complete, everything's been going in the opposite direction. So it's in our favor, and it's horrific for them. So they lose control.
Can't wait. It's about time.
So we wait and watch. What will happen this way? Well, we're going to have to wait and watch. But from what I'm looking at, everything's pointing to this is what's about to go down here. And that takes us to the next cycle chart, which is on page 6, and talks about the stock market. To be really clear about this, our last podcast, we talked that there is a potential crash in the month of October.
Right. Why
do we say that? Because in 1929, there was a crash in 1929 in the latter part of October. There was a crash in 87 that happened specifically in about the middle part of October. And when you study both of those crashes, you'll notice that neither of them actually may have dropped in October, but the bottom, the lowest point, did not come in until the middle of November. So we're still not out of the woods for the crash that was potentially an October crash. But again, that's just only start. That's like letter A, okay? Because letter B, the second potential time point has been what we've spoken about last year, okay? So last year, for the year before that, you'll notice when you look at the chart right in front of you, look at this really closely. In the year 2018, it predicted the crash in 2018 perfectly. Then it went 4-2-1 again, and it crashed, predicted the crash in the year 2020 perfectly, okay? Then it rose up again, and then it created another crash in the year 2021 perfectly. And then it took us into the year 2022, there was another crash, and it called that crash perfectly to the month. And then we now going into the end of this year. And so there was a chance that we dropped, that the stock markets could have dropped in October, but even that is not even at an end until the middle of November. Okay, because we still could see a plunge into the end of this week, into the start of next week, because the middle of November is not until the 15th, which is next Wednesday. Okay, so we're not even out of the woods for the potential that we spoke about, the October issue, the October crash issue. And here's the point. the cycle you're looking at isn't even talking about November or October. It's actually saying crystal clear, screaming, danger, danger, danger in December. So even if we do crash, the markets crash in November yet, it doesn't matter because the bottom won't come in until, based on this cycle, until December. So the cycle is still saying the stock market is so far out of, not even out of the woods yet for potential crashes and damage until minimum the end of December. Which is interesting because that takes us to the winter solstice, which is on the 21st of December. See what I'm saying? So all of this is coming together, in my opinion, extremely beautiful. And those, which we'll talk about cryptocurrencies, those who have our cryptocurrency cycles, again, it's confirming what we're saying here when relative to the stock market as well. So I hope that kind of gives the viewers an understanding about the stock market. To think that you're out of the woods, no way, not for the stock market.
Yeah, everybody continue to stay on high alert. Bo, you're a cycle guy, and you always say that you don't necessarily look at the news events or the world events, but when you put those two things together, I'll tell you what, it wouldn't surprise me at any moment. We could have one event that launches us into full-blown World War III. One person fires a gun somewhere, or someone,
or at the better word, but a perceived World War III.
Yes, right. But that we're on the edge of that canyon, tilting our heads out over the edge, and so if that's lining up with your cycle, I can tell you what lines up with my news, and it sure feels like we are. It could happen by the time we get done with this interview. Something blows up. So it sure feels like I don't feel comfortable at all with the stock market or with the U.S. dollar, and that's why I've been very vocal about, look, I'm not a financial advisor, but I report the news, and I can tell people where I see safety, and that is in gold, silver, and I sleep very well at night holding cryptocurrency.
Absolutely. And, that's the whole thing. When you understand the cycles, the timing of things, we've been talking for several years already. And, it's been fun to watch all this play out. You and I have seen some incredible things happen. And you're right. I don't watch the news so much because like I've said to you many times before, the news we need the news to fulfill the cycle, which is already written. So the cycle precedes the events. Those who have our cryptocurrency cycles, for example, are seeing how we'll talk about this, but you'll see this historic cycles. We've got months of pattern that are literally perfect. And then every day plays out fulfilling what's already happened historically. In other words, the cycle is already written. There's nothing random about tomorrow. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. There's nothing random about tomorrow. We don't know the events that are going to go down tomorrow, but I do know the cycle that's playing out for tomorrow. Get what I'm saying? And so by tomorrow and the next day, the cycle candlesticks keep forming, and then we're seeing the events that are forming them. There is no randomness to tomorrow in our world. Tomorrow is not random.
So we've got December circled in red on our calendars based on this chart, but I know you have a date even before that coming up soon. Take us. Let's work our way towards that one, because I know people want to know what's the next big date to watch for.
Right. So if you actually, before we just jump to there, I wanted to make the important. So slide 13 talks specifically about abortion. And I want to just bring that up so that the viewers can understand, abortion is the essence of why we have this problem right now. And it's also the reason why God's going to intervene right now. So it was a problem for humanity, for us. And that's evil took advantage of it. And now it's a win for humanity, for us. If you go up one slide to page 12, I want to explain that. Because when you read 2 Chronicles, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves, pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways. We did all that. And the turn from their wicked ways was abortion. So we turned from, because killing the Creator's creation is wicked. So we turned from our wicked ways. And so this is the comma, and then it says then. And the then part is what God does. So if we fulfill the first half of 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14, after the then part is God's part. Then we will hear from heaven. God will forgive our sins, and he will heal our land. So it's important to understand back to the beginning of this. We are living in biblical times, not political times. What does that mean? It means that everything is lined up based on Leviticus, which is the 50-year cycle, and 2 Chronicles, because if God intervenes, it's biblical. Get it? God is going to intervene on our world reveal himself. And I'm not talking the return of Jesus Christ, okay? We're still years from that. This is not the time for that. This is another moment in time where we are going to see the glory manifest on this earth, where God will reveal himself with signs, miracles, and wonders. But these signs, these miracles and wonders are going to be absolutely horrific for the evil regime, for those working for the kingdom of darkness. So that's really important to understand. So that takes us to like slide 19. And we've had in the year 2017 on Rosh Hashanah, on Rosh Hashanah, we had the Revelation 12 sign. The Revelation 12 sign, you'll understand, is a very important sign. It was a marker in the heavens. Why? Because if you read the next page 20, Exodus 23:10 through 11, it says, we are to plow the fields for 6 years and rest on the seventh. So those who've watched my podcast know the importance of this year 2023, because from the Revelation 12 sign, if you add 6 years, you got next page 21. You got the year 2023. And then that leads us into the year 2024, which is the year of rest. Okay, so you're asking why this is important, because we just had page 23 actually shows you tabernacles. It ended on the October 6th. And what happened? Page 25, the Yom Kippur War, the 50-year Jubilee cycle was confirmed. So now you ask about dates. Okay, so this is important. So the revelation that I received before I even, I made this slide. And the reason I made this slide in, I think, the end of September was I heard from God. He basically said something very clearly. Take note of the Yom Kippur War and note the critical dates or the key dates of the Yom Kippur War. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I went on your podcast, and a few days afterwards went on Nino Rodriguez podcast a few days later, even with Clay. And I'm like, hey, well, based on this, Leviticus is saying crystal clear, based on it is written in Leviticus that we are to consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land. And so what ended up happening was from October 6, 73, to the exact mark, the evening of the 6th of October into the 7th of October, the Israeli war broke out. And why that's so important? Yes, it's war. It's horrific. And, none of this is good, but we're in biblical times, like we stated earlier. And so the Israel conflict, again, sparked 50 years to the mark, confirming the Leviticus cycle of 50 years. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. So I'm not sure if there's many people, I think I was probably the only person in the world, from what I'm thinking, or might have heard so far, that predicted that war was going to break out on the 6th of October. It didn't happen to the mark. Now, the other thing I said on your podcast is the other key dates. The next one was October 26th. You know what happened on October 26th? The U.S. got involved. We struck military targets in Syria.
Right.
So the United States got involved on the next critical date of the Yom Kippur War. And nothing's happened since then, right?
Right.
But now this is the issue. We're heading into the third critical date of the Yom Kippur War. What's the third critical date of the Yom Kippur War? The ceasefire agreement with Egypt was signed on the 11th of November. 1/1/1/1, November 11th. That's this Saturday. So we've had so far the Yom Kippur War confirm October 6th. Check. Yep. We've had the Yom Kippur War confirm another important date, October 26th. U.S. gets involved, strikes on Syria. Check. So we're 2 for 2 so far. The next date is November 11th, this weekend. I'm just saying, this is expected to be a very important weekend as we head into next week. So we watch and see, but something's got to trigger here soon based on, there's only 6-7 weeks left into the winter solstice. On December 21. And so November 11th is supposed to be a very important window or point in time, which then leads us into Sunday the 12th, Monday the 13th, Tuesday the 14th, 15th, so we're at a very important window here of things potentially happening starting this weekend. So we wait and watch, but I'm telling you, very important time point. Now, what also is so let's confirm that, is it really potentially an important time point? Well, if you go to page 29, this is where it gets interesting, because when you start looking at calculating dates, what do we know? We know that on Pentecost of the year 2020, so May 30th was Pentecost, and that's when the second seal, okay, we had the first seal, the second seal of Revelation opened. This weekend The 11th is exactly a Daniel cycle of time, 1260 days from when the second seal of Revelation manifests. And what are we waiting for? The third seal. So that calculation from the George Floyd riots, which is actually Pentecost of the year 2020, May 30th, 1260 days to the exact day is the same day. 11, November 11th. That was basically, we just stated, per the Yom Kippur War key date. So I'm saying the cycles, the calculation, the Yom Kippur War, the Jubilee, the Leviticus Jubilee cycle is pointing to something for this weekend. The interesting part is when you read page 30, there is that Clement Prophecy. Now, again, now we're trying to link prophecy with dates. Okay, so I don't know if this is going to manifest, but I do know there's that prophecy that states they will bring this nation to its knees.
It just doesn't surprise me. November 11th. That's 2 11s, and you and I, we don't look at numerology like that, but the people who run this world do, and so that's why I pay attention to it, because they just seem to love those dates and doing big things on those dates. That's a very occult number, 1111. So, and it's on a weekend. They love to do big things over the weekend. That's why you have these Black Monday events, because something happens over the weekend. And so, boy, I can see it all fitting together, Bo. And that's why we had to have you back on today, because last time we had you, we called it an emergency broadcast, but it's just even more so right now. So everybody circle that day on your calendar, November 11th. That is this weekend, this Saturday. And let's hope nothing bad happens. You can pray against it, but ultimately these cycles are really putting a target on that date. So that's why we had to get this out when we did.
So you stated 11/11. Well, we talk about 11/11, as an important calculation time point, and also per the Yom Kippur War. Well, if you do 3 cycles, so 11/11 and then 22, so November 22nd, the day before Thanksgiving, is the day JFK was assassinated. Like 11/11/22. It's interesting. And then you get into Thanksgiving, which is 11/11/23. And then 11/11/24 is a Friday after Thanksgiving. So why is that important? Well, because of the month of November being very, very critical. And in 1 second, on page 31, I just want to touch base on the Trump cycle, because this is so important. From when oil went to negative $38 a barrel on page 32, you can see that spike straight down. It plunged straight down. That was 1,260 days from the exact day he won the election. You're on a 30, and then another 1,260 cycle. That took us to the start of November. Okay, so that just passed a couple days ago. 2-3 days ago, it just passed. And this cycle now is a critical time point into December 16th through the 17th. So that's on page 31, if you can just see that. So the cycle basically saying from November 1st, 2nd, so November 2nd into December 17th, we're in a critical completionary pattern for the Daniel cycle relative to Trump. And so, if you click back on page 29, you'll see again, November 11th. So all of those 2 Daniel cycles I'm looking at, both are saying something potentially is imminent and very important in the month of November. Page 33, we've talked about also, what we're seeing is about to see, they will bring this nation to its knees. And this is them trying to destroy and control humanity. And then you go to page 34, and it was page 4. While you're watching a stone carved out by no human hand, meaning God intervenes on this, right? Mm-hmm. So back to the Clement Prophecy, they will bring this nation to its knees, comma, then, because the then part's always what God does, right? Then you will hear the sound of great victory. This is a point of third seal of Revelation, which is the great wealth transfer. And so when a seal manifests, it's judgments and deliverance. So God's going to judge them and deliver us. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a double-edged sword. And so that takes us to the next page, 36, Thanksgiving. And this is why November is so important, okay? Because we've talked about the calculations pointing to November. One of the first potential time points of a starting issue could be on or about the 11th of November. The fascinating part about November is there's a scripture called Galatians 6, verse 7. And this is what I find truly important and historic, because be not deceived, God is not mocked. You see, these people, evil is mocking God, thinking that they can get away with all of their antics of what they're trying to do to humanity. The problem is they're coming up against the Creator. And at some point, the Creator is going to say, enough of this. enough of this. And I think you know where I'm going with that one.
Yes.
So be not deceived. For what a man soweth, thus shall he reap. The final harvest actually began this month. So it's a double-edged sword. It'll be the greatest time in human history. And hell on earth for the other side. So it's a double-edged sword. And I think you're going to know this because I did an interview just last week with Donna Clement's daughter, and her team sent me a whole bunch of prophecy. I did a little digging, and I think you're going to really appreciate those. So read this out to your viewers for what Kim Clement has to say about the fall season.
Yeah. Okay, so this is slide 37 if you're following along, but this was back November 13th of 2005. Incredible. Kim was absolutely incredible. But so here's what it says. So this is Kim talking. God says, I've kept a place for this nation. I've kept a secret place in my heart for this nation. You have begun a 4-year harvest that will reach to your children, your loved ones, your business, your husbands, your wives, your family. Your family will be shaken and brought into the kingdom. You have celebrated this morning, and you have said, we will whisper his name. We will shout out his name. And because you have called out my name, I have no choice but to respond. A lion has roared. Who can but prophesy? This day, I have brought this nation into a whole brand new place in the kingdom. Do you understand that you have come through August, September, and October, and now I am going to take you into 4 years of harvest that this nation has never seen or experienced?
Amen. Yeah. Come on. Come on. Let's finish the last line.
There will be
2005.
Yeah.
Look at the season we're living in right now.
Continue, almost please. 20 years ago. Incredible. There will be a celebration around Christmas that will bring your enemies to the floor. Why? Because God has said, enough of this, enough of this, enough of this. And that's the end. Boy, it's so true. I mean, we have just waited and waited and waited, and it seems like we've waited some more. But wow, for things to start in November and then turn the tables for 4 years where things start going in our favor. It's time. I can't wait.
Well, and what have we said based on the Daniel cycle, right? We've said it was a season of 3.5 years of evil. And then what? The tables flip, and then you have the opposite. So we said it's on a 7-year cycle. You have 3.5 years of evil. Because remember, Daniel 12:7 says it will be. It could be good or evil. Well, obviously, since January 2020, it wasn't on the good side. It was evil. But again, another example, when Jesus Christ started his ministry, he got baptized. 3.5 years it was the most glorious time the world's ever seen. We've never seen anything like that. But then it says in scriptures, in Haggai 2:9, the latter rain will be greater than the former, which means that as incredible as the time of Jesus walking on the earth, that glory of signs, miracles, and wonders is going to be greater. We can't even comprehend what's about to go down, but it's going to be so incredible. No. And our God is undefeated.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Sometimes not on our time clock, but undefeated.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. So again, on page 38, we talk about Zachariah prophecy. He basically said on the 24th day of the 11th month. I just find that interesting. I find it a coincidence. You know, I'm being facetious, right? He says, my city shall again overflow with prosperity. And then that was for the 24th day of the 11th month, which is November 24th, the day after reaping season, the day after Thanksgiving.
Right after Thanksgiving.
So, right after Thanksgiving. And then you got page 39, we got the Kim Clement prophecy. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and even that 24, you don't have the slide in this one. People have to go back to our prior interviews, but you have a whole series where you've marked very big things. They just always seem to happen on the 24th. So that's another good one to watch. Right,
exactly. There's a whole bunch of things that have happened, particularly, exactly with Saudis who basically he left the petrodollar contract because now they joined the BRICS. So, the U.S. dollar is nothing but paper at this point, okay? The Saudis signed a Russia contract, military contract, on the 24th of August, year 2021. So on the 24th of August. Then exactly 2 years later to the exact day, and there's a whole bunch of these, but this is just one that comes top of my head, on the 24th, just this year of August. So exactly 2 years later to the exact day, Saudis joined the BRICS. So basically leaving the petro contract, so it's incredible. All these things happen on 24. And so again, I just find the 24th thing very interesting, as stated in Zachariah. This is a big secret. So, God's not revealing this to anybody, but there is the one Kim Clement prophecy. In the fall, you will know who my David is. Okay. So all I know is fall goes to December 21.
Okay.
Okay. So just know that the cycle calculation went to December 17th, the 1260 cycle. So it goes in 3 days before the Daniel calculation ends in fall time yet from the Trump calculation. Remember that it ends on December 17th, 3 days before the 21st. So we're just going to see how this all plays out. But I do know that the next year, next slide, page 40, next slide is page 40, which is a year of Shemitah, which means rest From the Revelation 12 sign, 7th year starts 2024, which is a rest year. And Psalm 24 says specifically blessings and vindication.
And we need it too. I think everybody's ready for a year of rest.
I was just about to say that. And then go to page 41, and that would basically explain why. Because as we said, if my children humble themselves, pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. You see, so if God restores the covenant the founding fathers made with God, then that leaps us into 2024 as we step into a new era. So everything it's a redo of the past 3.5, 4 years.
Incredible. Yes.
And so we said Psalm 24 is blessings. Well, if you look at page 42, right? So example of blessings are written in Matthew 13, verse 23, and it talks about blessings are 30, 60, 100-fold. So I'm just saying the dollar is going to have a very bad day. A lot of bad days in the future now. Okay. But it's going to have one bad day and then many after that. And that's going to lead into gold and silver, cryptocurrencies multiplying in price. Not going up percentages, because we live in what times? Political times? No, we live in biblical times.
Right.
So when God intervenes, biblical means multiplication.
So just to put it in maybe perspective for people to understand, you don't feel as though the ship has already sailed on gold, silver, or crypto. This is almost like, we're still boarding and it's ready to go. Is that kind of accurate? I mean, if someone's listening to this and saying, I'm too late, I can't get in, are they late in the cycle, early in the cycle? Where are we at in the time cycle?
You'll know you're late in the cycle when it's on the news that the BRICS, or basically they're reporting, the news channels are reporting that the U.S. dollar lost the status of the world reserve currency. Or they'll be reporting that the U.S. dollar collapsed or plunged in price, or had a sharp crash and suddenly overnight. So that's about to happen here. We don't know the day or the hour this is going to happen. I'm just telling you, November is not good for the dollar.
Yeah, good. And
December, so then, and years forward is not good for the dollar. So, we still have precious metals, silvers, under $25, gold's, just bouncing around the 2,000 range. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin was at 65,000. It's only at 35,000 right now, so it's still half price. Okay. Right. XRP, I'm not sure the price of XRP was, as you talked about that one. I'm not sure what the high was in XRP, maybe like $3, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, about 384, something like that.
Yeah, so it's only at 70 cents right now.
Yep.
There's a lot of coins that you look at right now, just go to their prior highs, and everything's sizably, we're talking 50 to 80% off of their highs right now from where they were just a couple of years ago. Okay, so so to say that you missed the boat, how could you miss the boat if things, even Bitcoin is still 50% off its highs right now?
Perfect. Okay, just wanted to make sure people understood that. And, I heard something really good too, Bo. It's not in your slides here, but a little bit off topic. But I was listening to Michael Saylor talk earlier today, and if anybody doesn't know him, he's very big on Bitcoin, like one of the biggest supporters. And he said the fact that Wall Street is now getting ready to come in, they're fixing some of their systems. This Bitcoin ETF is about ready to come in. You're really in this amazing sweet spot where, for a while, there people who got in real early, like Bo and I did, and others even before us, that were on Bitcoin early. There was a question of whether it was going to, would it break? Would there be some sort of flaw in the code? Would it get banned by governments? Now the fact that Wall Street is coming in any day now with these new Bitcoin ETFs, but they haven't come in yet. It's like you can see the validation of it. It's not going away. It's only going to get bigger, but that ship hasn't quite left the station yet. To me, and again, I'm not a financial advisor, but to me, this is like the most exciting sweet spot to be in. You take some of that risk, that early risk that it's going to maybe not catch on, but you still haven't seen all the upside yet. To me, I'm just excited to be living through this time.
Think about the U.S. dollar, for example, right? And the news media, and you have J.P. Morgan and all these people, talking heads. And I'll think about Bitcoin in that regard. So when Bitcoin first came out, I think it was under $1. And then it was under $10 for how long? And finally got above 100, and then finally, it hit over $1,000, and people are freaking out because it went from $1 to 1,000. Right. And then it crashed. It's at 35,000 right now. Okay. What the point to understand about cryptocurrencies is that the talking heads if you would send me a click of a button and and I would receive on my phone, for example, whatever, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, whatever you sent me, I'd receive it in a fraction of a second. And there's just me and you having we're just sending funds back and forth. And that's the essence of what cryptocurrencies are. It's called peer-to-peer. The Federal Reserve System involves a middleman between the two parties. And so the reason the talking heads hate cryptocurrencies is because there's no middleman, meaning they're not in the middle.
Right.
Get it?
Yep.
They are not in the middle. And if you're in the middle, you can control the transaction.
Mm-hmm.
For the same reason, the talking heads call gold a rock. Mm. The reason gold's a rock, very simple, is because the talking heads and that all the people they work for don't know that if you gave me a piece of silver, there's no one in the middle of that transaction.
Exactly.
See, so the world Babylon the Great operates on control. And so they cannot have a financial system that they're not in control of. Mm. And so Bitcoin has always been, they're saying it's used for child trafficking and everything. They use any and all excuses that they can use for cryptocurrencies as being bad. Why? Because they want the world to believe in the US dollar.
Right.
And the US dollar, now this is actually, I was with somebody this week and they say, hey, why don't you do a calculation on a quadrillion? I'm like, okay. So Noah, if you wanted to, in the 70s, before Nixon took us off the gold standard, there wasn't $1 billion in circulation, and there wasn't the word trillion. Okay. So that was in the 70s. We get to the 80s, 90s, 2000s. Okay. So now we're in the quadrillion. So let me explain to you. So Noah, if I say, hey, Noah, I would like you to count to 1 million. Okay. So it would take you, Noah, 12 days. That's without sleep.
Okay.
So, and 1,000 million is a billion, 1,000 billion is a trillion, 1,000 trillion is a quadrillion. Okay. So now, if I say, okay, now count to a trillion, okay, you couldn't do it because it would take you 32,000 years.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Now this gets better. Now, if the people out there listening to this podcast have 401ks, IRAs, and they have digits in the bank or digits in their 401ks, digits in their, I'm not giving anybody financial advice. I'm just giving you math. And what does the math say? So they've created money out of thin air because we're in the trillions, and we're not. We're in the quadrillions now. So if I said, Noah, can you count to a quadrillion? It would take you 31 million years.
Wow.
That's the point. The money system is a complete and utter fraud. Mm. They keep creating money out of thin air. They keep pushing the stock market and telling everybody, hey, everything's just fine. Why is it just fine? Because they keep creating money out of thin air, sticking the stock market, right? And then God shows up, blows everything up. Okay. If you think that this is going to keep going up, those that think this is going to keep going on forever, go study history on fiat currencies or money's anything but gold. No currencies ever existed more than 100 years. The US dollar is like 110 years right now. Okay. The point is no currencies ever existed, ever more than 100 years-ish, ever. Gold and silver lasted 4,000 years, 5,000 years. Okay. But nothing's ever existed. So to think that the US dollar is going to be continuing as the world reserve currency, you're going to have value for the next 100 more years, it's never going to happen, and you're living in fantasy land.
Wow, that is incredible.
So that takes us to why cryptocurrencies are important. Why? Because everything that happened in 73. So because we turned from our wicked ways with Roe v. Wade, so the U.S. dollar itself, so there in the bottom right corner, it's in yellow. You can see it's 31,536,000 years. Just to count to a quadrillion. And we're in the several quadrillion now. Okay, we don't even know. Is it 20 quadrillion? We don't really know. They won't even let release the money supply anymore because it's the money. It's such a joke. Okay,
right.
So where there's several layers of quadrillions we're in now.
Well, and yeah, this is what you were talking about. The one here, this line across, that's 1 trillion.
Yeah, and 1 billion, billion.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. And then this is when we came off the gold standard, and then it just shoots off the top of the chart.
And that's only the year 2020, the chart. So this is 3 years old, this chart. Do you matter what I think you couldn't see the top if I put it on, if I use it, because they've created so much now. It's crazy when they're creating trillions now out of thin air. So and remember when they create, all they do is they just add digits, right? They add zeros. They're just adding zeros. So everything in people's bank accounts, you can believe it's money. This is free people decide. This has got the free will thing, right? If you think that your 401k is fantastic, that's great. That's a free will choice, But I look at it that they're nothing but digits. Okay, these are digits that someone can click a button and the digits are gone at the same time too, right? And so that's ultimately what the mark of the beast system is in the future, right? They're going to click a button. If you say something wrong, boom, it's gone. It's like that South Park, and it's gone.
And it's gone. That's right.
How can I help you, young man?
I got $100 check from my grandma, and my dad said I need to put it in the bank so it can grow over the years.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check in a money market mutual fund. Then we'll reinvest the earnings into foreign currency accounts with compounding interest, and it's gone.
What?
It's gone. It's all gone.
What's all gone?
The money in your account. It didn't do too well. It's gone.
What do you mean? I have $100.
Not anymore, you don't. Poof.
Exactly.
But the point is, that, so you can laugh about this, but this is a serious point because people, they watch this money, they watch their accounts, but evil created that because, he's a deceiver, right? So he created this financial system and we're 100 plus years into this currency that people actually think is money. But at this point, it's complete utter fraud. So basically back to 73, because Nixon took us off because we overturned Roe v. Wade. Now, everything that happened in 73, so the petrodollar contract was 73. So everything happened in 73 is going to collapse in the year 2023 into 24. It's going to all collapse. The World Economic Forum founded in 71. The Davos Manifesto came out in 73 of their plans for the next 50 years. So the great, their plans for what's listed in the Davos, the World Economic Forum, they fall apart. So everything that started in 73 is about to blow up in 2023 into 2024.
Oh, I think about where I live, and I know everyone lives in different places. You're California, I'm Iowa, and people listening are all over the country. But even 30 years ago, which scary to say was 1993, so that'll probably make a lot of people feel old. But 30 years ago was 1993. I remember back then, a $200,000 house, $300,000 house, that was like a really nice house. And that same house now, it's easily $800,000, $900,000. And what changed? I mean, that the house didn't get any better. What changed was we have all these extra dollars, and so your dollar is literally worth less, and so it takes more of them to buy the same thing. That house didn't change, it's. I mean, even in our lifetimes, to see houses to double, triple, quadruple in value, it's nuts.
And most of the real estate market since the crash of 2020, when they stuck $7 trillion into the 6 to 7 trillion over the weekend into the system, right? Real estate prices across most of the world, especially the United States, much real estate has doubled in price in the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Just because when you stick $7 trillion into the economy, that causes a pond to turn into an ocean.
Yeah, incredible.
Okay? And so the ocean now of money is chasing the same house, and that's why the prices explode in price. So that's all that's happening. So bottom line is, people have free will to do what they want. It's not for me or you to tell anybody to do what they want with their finances. We are telling you, and I am telling you scripturally, there's things in the Bible called scriptures called Leviticus, consecrate the 50th year. You'll understand that Moses took Israel from Egypt out of bondage via God, after 400 years, which is 8 cycles of 50. The Mayflower landed 400 years ago, 1620. See, all of these things are at a critical mass time point. And, when you stretch out the time, you're looking at, what happened to Israel. You got present day pharaohs. All of this is, I just find interesting. And it's more than a coincidence because it's by design. Yeah. And my wife and I, we literally were, a year ago, I think it was right around, I forget the actual date, but it was about the middle of like the 15th or something like that. I think it was like the 14th or 15th, literally like next week. And how did this work out? But it did. We were at the top of Europe at a place called the Sphinx, and we did a video and more recorded, but basically we proclaimed, "Let my people go." We did this at the top of Europe, but there's a Sphinx there, I remember that. We got off the elevator, and I showed that 1, 2. We got off the elevator into the elevator at 1, 2, 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and that just happened to be next week, a year ago.
Yes, I totally remember that.
Today, my wife Sophia and I, we are at the very top of Europe. This is crazy. We're at the very, very top. We're over 11,700 feet above sea level right now. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is this morning, I got a word from the Lord. Basically, the Father said, take a camera, make a video. When you go back and study Exodus, what did Moses say to Pharaoh? More importantly, what did God tell Moses to say to Pharaoh? He told Moses, said, let my people go. Truly incredible words spoken by Moses that were given to him to tell to Pharaoh. Now, why does that matter? Well, because something really incredible is going on right now where we're standing. What is a symbol and representation of Egypt? They have sphinxes standing at the forefront of Egypt. You walk through the sphinxes to get into Egypt. And then Moses passed the sphinxes and he walked to Pharaoh and he said, what? Let my people go, saith the Lord. You would not believe this, but on the way up the hill, the place that Sophia and I stand right now is called the Sphinx Observatory. Truly incredible. This is not a coincidence. We stand today at the Sphinx Observatory, and behind us, which is incredible, is the rest of the world. We're at Europe, the top of Europe. Behind us is England, London, Europe, and then beyond that, the Atlantic, and then beyond that, the United States. So we call out to the world today, to the pharaohs of this world, let my people go, saith the Lord.
So I just find all of these things very coincidence, a lot of coincidences here. And I just know that God has a plan. So we wait and watch these things manifest. But those that have, again, back to the finance, right? There's many people out there that their husbands, wives, they're entrenched in the financial system. There's a thing called in the world and of the world. The of the worlders are the ones that, they watch their 401ks and they watch their, and I can't tell anybody what to do, because every day you wake up, you have free will. The reason the world is messed up is because of free will, what Adam and Eve did, right? And so Christ came, he redeemed us. But the point is, we are still to choose this day whom we will serve. And so there are people that want to serve mammon, the financial system that exists today, and that's great if that's what they choose to do. On the other end, in my heart, I know in your heart as well too. We talk about this regularly, but in my heart, I know that Haggai 2 verse 8 says, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. I know that gold and silver are God's money. And I put my faith in God, because I know that at some point, God's going to say, enough of this, enough of this, enough of this.
Yes. I hope that time is very, very soon. Yes. Well, and Bo, I got on the screen here. Last time you were on, you told us that, like you've been telling us for a while, but you told us, hey, right now, the U.S. dollar it's hit its local top. It's things are going down. And then, sure enough, this circled on the screen here. It got that big red drop right after our interview. So, and you're I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's not going to get better for the dollar in the future. Is that about right?
Exactly. We did a podcast. I believe one of the ones we just did was in October, middle of October, something like that. And we said the U.S. dollar is topping right now at letter point D. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this was stated, go back to the prior podcast. And we didn't show the rest of it, but the cycle. So the top chart you're looking at, there's this historic cycle. This happened years ago. So God reveals to me, like, I see patterns, and he told me where to go look. And then the chart below that is present day, year 2023 US dollar. And you'll notice from points A, B, C, and D, they're perfect. You'll notice point 1, 2, 3 at the bottom, they're perfect. It started, that cycle began in January of 21. You got to admit, the cycle is perfect. Incredible. And so it's just incredible pattern that's forming. And I said at point D was our last interview, the dollar's topping right here, right now. And by the time November hits, you're going to start seeing the US dollar start to fall in price. What that means is, if the dollar was in demand, then as the world's buying up the dollar, its price goes up. If the world is dumping the dollar, saying we don't want it anymore, the price is going to fall, supply and demand. And so we're seeing the dollar now drop. And this actually happened November 3rd. This past Friday, because today is Monday, the dollar plunged sizably, and it confirmed the pattern that we have. The dollar keeps dropping. There's going to be a day where it drops even harder, and that's going to cause Bitcoin, gold, silver, cryptocurrency just to explode. So, we've got some very important dates. There's two coming here in the month of November yet. We've got one in December. We've got some points here coming in the first part in the first quarter of 2024. You'll see the cycle on page 44. The top one is a historic cycle. And you'll know, Noah, you're getting the updates. The bottom one is Bitcoin 2023. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't understand charting, look at the chart. From the May high, it drops down into the June low. It then rises up into a July high, drops down into an August low. Tell me that those turns, when I say it goes up and then it turns down, goes down, it turns up. Tell me that those turns aren't crazy. Yeah, they're within 48 hours of each other, nearly to the exact mark. Mm-hmm. right into the drop that we actually saw just like 2 weeks ago as October ended. It was like October, the 26th, and then the drop into 0.2 at October 27th.
Mm-hmm.
That 2-day drop, I was writing about that in September. It's going to drop for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it dropped for 2 days, then it turned up. So the point is, now we're at November 6th. This is from today's update, November 6th update. Okay, this is from today's update. I just blocked out the future. I can't give everything away. Okay, but I've got subscribers that want to know that so I do a private update, and I have the next month in time forward in the charts, and you'll actually see the next critical dates that are coming, and they're soon. But there's some really important dates coming in November and December. So we have all those, and basically I write them within our reports. But the subscribers have known about these dates for like weeks already. None of this is new to anybody, and that goes back to tomorrow's not random. The cycle is already there for tomorrow. We just don't know the event that's going to cause it. But we do know a couple things for November, right? We know that there's November 11 date, 11/11, based on the Yom Kippur War and based on the 1260 calculation from the second seal of May 2020. So all I'm saying is that we are at a very important time point. And then also we talk about Kim Clement, right? His prophecy. And there's that one really awesome prophecy which stated Christmas in November. So.
Oh, yes. Thanksgiving being one to remember, and then Christmas, I will make them happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that the core of what I wanted to say is high alert, high alert, high alert. This is third seal of Revelation. Expect to manifest here really, really soon, which is going to cause chaos in the financial markets. It's going to cause a collapse of markets. We are nowhere out of the woods on the stock market crash. We're nowhere out of the woods on the US dollar crash. All of this is coming soon. And again, but what people do about this information, I've put it out to the world for free. What people want to do with them is, again, free will. Choose this day whom you will serve. Choose this day. If you think that what I'm saying is true, but Noah, after what I've done, with my reports for several years now, how accurate much of this is.
Yeah, and that's I wanted to mention that too. If people want to get your reports, the one thing I find really fun is to go back and look at them historically, and you can do that here if you go to gold2020forecast.com, and like Bo said, everything that we do in this interview, all of the slides, that's all free. But then Bo gets people saying, well, can you give me more of the information, more of the detail? Maybe you're an active trader. Maybe you just want to know more detail and watch it, follow it closely. I know I like that. So if you want to get his newsletter, you can go to gold2020forecast.com. And then he always gives us a discount code, which is really nice. If you sign up for that, you type in code WLT49, and it's going to give it to you for half off. So that's awesome. And you can get in there. You can get a 14-day trial on it, see what you think. And during that 14-day trial, you can go back and read as many archive issues as you want. They're all in there. So you can go in and see what we're telling you has been published. And I think it's fun to go back a couple of years and see, some of the stuff that Bo had in there. So you can do that. And then the other thing that Bo has that has been really popular recently, he created the Easy Crypto School. And you go in there and it takes you from not knowing, maybe you're listening to this and you understand the concepts and you're just like, okay, it makes sense. I get it. Gold, silver, cryptocurrencies. I'm on board with all three of those. I know how to buy gold. I know how to buy silver, but I don't know how to buy crypto. It kind of scares me a little bit. I feel like I might make a big mistake and lose all my money or fall victim to a scam or whatever. There's a lot of that out there. So if you don't even know where to start, you don't know what the trusted websites and wallets are, go ahead and get this. And he's got a code for that too. You can get that for 50% off. It's entirely, I'll try and answer a few questions here because I always get a lot of emails and then I have to respond to each one by one. So a lot of people ask, how much time will it take to get through the course? It's entirely self-directed. Once you get in there, you can go at whatever pace you want. You can go slow, you can go fast. You can go back and repeat the modules until you understand them. And it's all ready access for you to see whatever you want to see as fast or as slow as you want to. So that'll take you from literally not knowing how to buy Bitcoin at all. If you've never done it, you can do it safely and know that you're doing it the right way. So I know a lot of people are enjoying that same code there. When you sign up, just put in the code WLT49. That Bo's going to give you a discount for listening to this show. And I want to get back to you. I want to say thank you for joining us today. It's our back-to-back emergency broadcast because the end of 2023 is just wild. So I'll give you the last word. We'll have you back on again soon, I'm sure. But this is November 6th, and we are watching all those dates you told us about. Go ahead and wrap it up for us.
The Yom Kippur War that started 50 years ago on the 6th of October, we had confirmation with Israel conflict that we're watching happen right here, right now. It happened 50 years, not almost, like a week early. No, it happened to the exact date within 24 hours. Okay, so it's on the mark. The second thing was the United States got involved literally on the next key date, the 26th of October. So all I know, we got one check, two check. These are huge checks. Okay, this is literally talking Israel war, and the United States getting involved on critical dates. Okay, so 2 for 2. The next critical date is the November 11th. Does anything happen there? I don't know. I'm just telling you, watch out, because basically that was the day the U.S. that was the day that the conflict was. There was a ceasefire agreement signed, and so that's a critical date for our world. So something's about to go down here. The cycle charts that I look at as well are pointing to big things happening into the last potentially 2 weeks of November, and then we're, the last part of that's into Thanksgiving. So I'm just saying, November still, there's a lot of time left in November, and then that still leads us into December. So we read the prophecy of Tim Clement about Christmas as well too. So all I want to finish with this is God is undefeated, and as horrible as things might look, as horrible as things might even appear to still occur yet. Okay, be not deceived, for God is not mocked. There'll be wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that not you are deceived, for the end is not yet. These are the beginnings of birth pains. I am expecting the birth of a new era on this earth, with specifically relating to the fall of Babylon. Babylon, Babylon, the great has fallen. And so all I know is that evil ones are challenging God. And at some point, God will say, enough of this, enough of this, enough of this.
This day I have brought this nation into a whole brand new place in the kingdom. Do you understand that you have come through August, September, and October, and now I am going to take you into 4 years of harvest that this nation has never seen or experienced?